Hey guys, and welcome to another session of Pod 420. I'm Jimmy, and this is my co host,
Jenna.
and we're here to talk about a few things today. Obviously, last night we endured the Trump speech. That was interesting.
Oh, yeah, that was fun. We had to be high for it, though.
Yeah, definitely had to be high for that one.
I don't know how anybody watches him speak sober ever.
Right? Yeah, just kind of following up on Trump's speech, a lot of the headlines and a lot of the other politicians were basically saying the same thing that I was thinking at the time, that this guy is just manufacturing panic. I mean, if you listen to his speech, it's kind of like putting together a Big Mac. There's a layer of heartfelt, these things are happening then because of all these bad people. And then these heartfelt bad things are happening because of these bad people. It almost seemed like he was layering panic on top of everything else. And it's like, come on, man.
Yeah, he likes to incite panic and he likes to place blame and he likes to get everybody excited and in an uproar, never in a positive way, but in a negative way, because then they are his little minions and his lemmings and they do his bidding.
I don't know. It's so much easier to incite hate than it is to incite peace. It's really, truly sad. And this guy seems to be a virtuoso when it comes to inciting uh, disorderly disconduct kind of stuff.
You think that what we've known about so far is bad? Have you heard what happened this morning? Well, besides the walking out of the meeting part, you know about that. Um, there was an email sent out yesterday before his speech that said they wanted his supporters to donate to the Wall Fund and that if they didn't get $500,000 by the end of the day when the speech was going to be made, which was 9 p.m. their time, that he would that the government would remain shut down. I don't know. This whole fear mongering thing, right? So then apparently they didn't reach that goal. Not enough people fell for the scam. So then after his speech, they sent out another email saying, well, for you, we're extending the deadline because we noticed that your name was not on the list and we want to send your name to the on the list to President Trump. Blah 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 because apparently that's supposed to be super special. And in order to do that, you need to send your $5 donation in right now. And so I'm sure there are people that fell for it. But then, like, this reporter that looked into this said that, oh, and I need to find the link for that because that would be good to include. But um, looked into it, found that it was from the Trump Foundation or whatever, not the charitable thing, but like his business entity. And it was whatever the fund was that is for his reelection.
Oh, geez, his campaign fund?
Yeah. So it wasn't even for the wall. So he's a piece of work.
And before making that speech today, the president's campaign sent out a fraudulent email to Trump supporters saying, "Friend, I will be addressing the nation tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the humanitarian and national security crisis on our southern border. We need to raise $500,000 in one day. I want to know everyone who stood with me when it mattered most, so I've asked my team to send me a list of every American patriot who donates to the official Secure the Border Fund. Please make a special contribution of $5 by 9 p.m. Eastern Time to our official Secure the Border Fund to have your name sent to me after my speech." That was all a lie. In the finer print of the email, it says the contributions are to the Trump Make America Great Again committee. That is the president's reelection committee. The president lied to his supporters in that email today, telling them that their contribution would be to an official Secure the Border fund. Immediately after the speech, the president then sent out another fundraising email saying, friend, President Trump just finished his speech addressing our national security crisis on the southern border and explaining why he will not cave to the Democrats. We sent him a list of all patriots who donated to our official Secure the Border fund, and he noticed your name wasn't on the list. Since you've been such a strong supporter and one of our greatest advocates for the wall, we have decided to extend your deadline to get on the list. And that is what the president's request for network broadcast time tonight was all about. He used it to raise money for his reelection campaign, pretending to his supporters that the money they would contribute would be used to secure the border. And he did not say one new thing in that speech that he read from that teleprompter in the Oval Office tonight.
But anyway, we weren't supposed to talk about Trump today. We were supposed to talk about marijuana.
True, but it was good to kind of fall back on that because, I felt after our last discussion on it, we left a lot of things on the table. So it was kind of good to come back and revisit it a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, so in today's news, I'm looking at a page here on the Intelligencer, however you say that, Intelligencer. Okay. Anyway, one of these fun titles: did marijuana legalization really increase homicide rates? At first glance, that's another one of those fear-mongering titles. But if you go into the text, it explains it out a little bit more. I brought this up because, once again, this kind of story marketing really gets to me. They could sum up this whole thing easily with another title. Some dumbass states that marijuana increases homicide rates. And yeah, they'll explain out why this moron is indeed a moron, and then back it up with data, which is exactly what they did. So, getting off my soapbox, what they did find out is, indeed, it did not increase, at least here in Oregon, it did not increase homicide rates at all. It did the opposite. And I love when people try to grasp at straws at people in the cannabis community. There might be like a small handful on the planet that are like compulsive a-holes that they get high and, knock over people's flower pots. I don't know. It's rare, but people love to say, oh, these potheads are violent and they're doing this. No, we're sitting on the couch. That or we're taking a hike or we're staring up at the stars. I don't know, I don't see very many potheads, even the younger ones, doing stupid stuff. Most of the younger folks that I know that are cannabis users are actually a lot less wild than the ones who say that they habitually drink. These are the ones that, I got blacked out at a party and, ended up throwing up all over the place and people got into a fight. The stoners are like, we played video games, it was cool. Just that juxtaposition of those two should be enough information for anybody. It's like, put some of these whack jobs in a room with somebody stoned. Have a conversation with them, They're going to be like, I didn't even know that they were stoned. Of course. Also, you didn't get killed. Anyway. Did you have a chance to look at the article at all?
I'm trying to. but it's hard to read it and listen to you at the same time.
Yeah, you don't have to listen to me. I'm all hot air anyway.
So is this saying that they thought marijuana legalization would increase homicide rates, but they have found that it did not?
Correct. If you look in
Okay.
there, there's an author like the subtext there. Because marijuana can cause paranoia and psychosis, those conditions are closely linked to violence, which is true, yeah. But cannabis is awfully sedating, even in the sativa form. You know, I've had some pretty big paranoia off pot before, but I never felt like running out of my
Murdering
house.
someone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the paranoia is more of getting caught doing something stupid and trying not to act like you are doing something stupid. That's pretty much the paranoia. You're trying to do the best impression of yourself while other people are around. You know. So, but yeah, I mean, like I said in one of our other ones, I've been around a lot of people, stone drunk and otherwise. The stoners are always the ones that are chill, you know. And it's like you're playing a game of craps when you're drinking with people, because you don't know which one's going to be the one that, you know, rips off their shirt and goes full Hulk on somebody, you know.
Yeah, we've been to the pot lounge and we've been to bars.
Yeah.
And there's been a significant difference.
Yeah.
Like night and day
Exactly.
of those two different. They both are there for the exact same purpose, but yet completely different atmospheres.
Hmm. Yeah, as a veteran, regular bars make me really nervous. You know, because there is a lot of machismo. There's a lot of, you know, guys staring each other down. And, of course, that puts me into threat assess mode. So going to regular bars isn't comfortable for somebody like me. And I can imagine, you know, my brothers and sisters out there may have had the same problem. You know, you go into a bar to have a drink and relax, and you find yourself, you know, calculating who's doing what constantly. It's not relaxing. You know, at the lounge, I would actually sit with my back to others. You know, I wouldn't put myself against a wall. I felt
Yeah,
more,
that's very unusual for
yeah,
you.
I felt more comfortable in an environment like that than I have in
You don't
most
even do that
places.
in restaurants. Even
Yeah.
in restaurants, you want to have your back to the wall.
So, if somebody like me can feel comfortable in an environment like that, that means that I have reasonable life experience that suggests that I can feel comfortable there. You know? So, I don't know. I think people need to get off this whole marijuana is a dangerous, violent drug. You know, that movie, what was it? Reefer Madness? Very little about that entire movie was even remotely realistic. But yet that seems to be the image that everybody has burned into their brain about cannabis.
Right.
And it's unfair.
It is, and I am guilty of it, you know, of buying into the propaganda machine that is the Just Say No campaign that worked on me.
Or you
Didn't
were-
work on a lot of kids, but it worked on me.
Yeah, as I say, you were probably the only one.
Well, all of my friends, too. We were all good little girls. And so I grew up thinking all drugs are bad. Pot is a drug, therefore pot is bad. Little did I know what was going on with my own parents. Well, I shouldn't lump my mom in with that, but my dad.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, I was so oblivious to it. I had no idea. I didn't know what it smelled like, so I didn't smell it on him. I didn't know that he was smoking it in the garage, you know,
You just
like,
thought that his cigarettes smelt funny.
yeah, like, but it was he hid it because it was still a shameful thing at that time. He didn't want me to ever try drugs.
Right.
So, it's probably good that he's relieved that I didn't find out until, I was already an adult. But, like, until this past year, I was completely against legalization of it.
Yep.
I thought that it was just the most horrible thing ever. It was going to just destroy society as we know it. I had bought into all of the fear mongering and propaganda that had been fed to me my entire life. And so I came up with all the same tired arguments of why weed is bad and all of the dangers that it's going to, and the same type of thing. Oh, it's going to make people violent. And it's because I'm looking at it as what alcohol does to people.
Right.
I've seen what happens. I mean, we all do. We know what it looks like when somebody gets completely wasted and acts a fool.
Right.
So I just kind of assumed that that's what marijuana would do too, since I had no frame of reference. And now that I am an avid user of it, I see how wrong I was.
Right. Yeah, I remember you and we would have some pretty lively debates over this.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've used it on and off for a very long time. So I was like, yeah, there's really no problem. I mean, and you would always counter with those same Nancy Reagan era responses. But, marijuana, like I said before many, many times, it's an amazing, amazing plant. And I hope that when my kids have kids, hopefully they're of legal age when they do this, but yeah, I hope they are recreational cannabis users. I hope that they're recreational cannabis users. Because I would much rather have my grandchildren... I would much rather have my grandchildren growing up in a house where their dad is goofy and have the munchies, instead of a mom or a dad who's drunk and throwing things.
Right.
And I think if this was legalized, or rather say, if it was never made illegal, what kind of parents would we have grown up with? Because there's a lot of people, especially from like the 60s and 70s era, like myself, who, in this culture here, drinking was the big thing. So it seems like everybody from that era was drunk. But what if they were stoned? Then you'd probably be hearing a lot less stories of, my dad was drunk, or my dad left, or this, that, and the other. It just seems like there was a lot of alcoholism with these really sad stories of folks growing up about my same era. And I don't know. I still hold firm that pot is one of those things that could literally bring about change on the planet. I know it sounds like every hippie in existence, but even though they were a little on the corny side even back then, they had a point. A lot of these people that hate marijuana don't know how to calm down. They're so tightly wound and so afraid of change that anything that even tweaks their world in the least bit freaks them out.
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah,
I'm just as guilty again.
Yeah, I just basically described you. At least how you used to be.
Yeah, how I used to be. Yay for self-improvement.
Right. Yeah, we don't even want to go into how we both were when we first met. Anyway, with that said, let's move to the next one.
Okay.
This one's about Congresswoman Alejandria Ocasio-Cortez. Or people have been calling her AOC. Hires former marijuana lobbyist as senior advisor. There's not much about the content of this article that I really want to get into. I mean, it's a good article. There's a lot of good stuff in here. The thing that I really wanted to focus on was this new attitude about these younger folks coming in, and the first thing that she does is something that you don't normally see here in the United States. She hired somebody that knows something about what she wants them to do. Typically what we have is, like, on the science committee, you'll have like a doctor, a lawyer, and some businessmen, none of which have anything related to science at all. Whereas in like Canada, the Department of Agriculture guy is a farmer, you know. The head of IT is a guy from, or not IT, but their cyber section, you know. Each part of their government is, they try to man with somebody that knows what they're doing.
Right. Yeah.
Whereas here, we just don't do that. We put stupid people in stupid positions, like Betty DeVos. He's like, no, get her out. Anyway,
You're talking about things like the Department of Education is like a college professor and stuff like that,
exactly.
right?
Instead of what we have, which is a moron. I would be surprised if she made it out of public education. Anyway. So yeah, the first thing this woman does is hire somebody that knows something. Now let's translate that into putting people like that into office. You know, finally getting people in there that have some expertise.
Mm-hmm.
You know, instead of having, you know, one of those greasy bastards from Goldman Sachs take over, you know, the whole financial, what am I trying to say? Financial sector of our system here. Put somebody who's been an accountant professor for the last 20 years. You know,
Mm-hmm.
somebody with deep knowledge that isn't going to necessarily go by what their previous huge corporation wants them to do, but somebody who's going to do the right thing and the logical thing,
Mm-hmm.
and hopefully take out partisan bias and just focus on the numbers. Because numbers don't have party affiliation. Numbers are just numbers. Balance the damn budget, you know.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much why I brought this up, because I think it's time that we as a country stop being so damn lazy about things. We just kind of accept things on face value, like, oh, okay, president's throwing a bunch of bombs at people that didn't do anything to him, so okay, cool, what's for dinner? You know, and that's why I can't watch news, because it's like we accept all these things. And we need to stop doing that. We need to hire more people like AOC to do what we want them to do. And I'm not just saying Republicans do this either. I mean, we've got a lot of old timers that are Democrats. Some of them are great. Other ones, they need to go and retire. We need some new blood in there, you know.
For
The Reagan-
sure.
The Reagan era is over, and a lot of these people are holdovers from that era. We don't want that. We want today. Oh. Anyway, so that's why I brought that up. I think she's doing a great job. I think she's going to hopefully lay the groundwork. A lot of these new people that are coming in, a lot of these people of color that are coming in, hopefully they're going to lay a new groundwork that says it's okay to break the mold now. We're ready. You know, instead of, you know, same old white dude year after year after year after year. Okay, you're not doing as well as you were. So let's kick you out. You can go retire to a ranch or whatever you want to go do. Put somebody new in there. Let's get some new blood. Let's get this country back where it once was. where we were the best in science, education, math, all these things. We were the ones that started flying people up into the sky, and then out of the sky into the atmosphere, out of the atmosphere into space. We need to start doing more of that.
That's what we need to do to make America great again.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
That's the kind of stuff we need to focus on, not let's try to scare off all the people that have a different skin color than us.
Right. So, let's move on to the last one here. This one is kind of cool. A Vermont Supreme Court ruling on marijuana and traffic stops is a landmark victory for racial justice. This one is kind of cool. I'm kind of this is actually cool on two levels for me. It's cool because it keeps people from profiling cannabis users, and it also keeps cops from pulling people over for not looking the way that they look. Because in this, they say that, if they're getting pulled over or whatnot, detained for really no good reason, that they can sue. So now this is going to make the police there a little bit more vigilant in deciding, okay, do I really want to pull over that person of color because I can't see their registration tag because there's a snowflake on it? Or do I just want to keep going because they're not doing anything wrong and I should just leave them alone? They have a decision to make at that point. Be a racist or do your job. And I think that might help them discover, oh, I should just do my job and stop trying to be racist. Yeah, I think this is cool that, because in all honesty, with the stuff that I've seen over the last several years, police are not being held accountable. And yeah, we may not be getting the whole story, but I'm sorry, if you go into a store and you're hungry and you grab a pack of donuts and you dart, you shouldn't end up dead for that. Cops' first response should not be to pull a headshot, shoot them in the damn leg, the arm. That way they can still go home at some point. So anything that makes them have a little bit more accountability and a little less above the law mentality, I'm all for.
So what was the article about?
Basically, this guy named Zulo or Zuyo, I don't know if he's Hispanic or not.
He's a black man.
Oh, okay. Got pulled over because, like I said, there was a snowflake covering up his registration tag.
Right.
Okay. So gets pulled over, and the cop says, well, there's he smelled a faint odor of burnt marijuana as he approached. It's like, did he find anything? I don't see anything here where they actually found anything. They found.
He said that they found a pipe with marijuana residue, which is not a crime. It had recently been decriminalized. He had smoked 3 days before that and did not appear intoxicated. So what's the problem?
Yeah, exactly.
Why was it even a thing?
And first and foremost, you can't.
Did he actually get
search somebody's
arrested from
car.
it?
Huh?
Did he actually get arrested from it?
I'm not sure exactly, but you can't just say, let me search your car. The police have to have a really good reason to detain you. And a faint smell of marijuana is not good enough. Especially if he didn't even do a field sobriety test. Or have a dog go around and sniff for any other contraband. Anyway. So, for me, this story is a victory for these folks out in Vermont, and specifically a victory for the guy who they victimized.
Why? What was the end result? Did
This
he
ruling, this
did he
rule
win?
That says cops can't just be dicks for the sake of being dicks. They have to have a really good reason to be in somebody's face.
Oh.
If not, they can get sued, which I think is glorious.
So at the time of the stop, it was not illegal in Vermont to drive with an occluded registration sticker. In the Fourth Amendment context, the U.S. Supreme Court has ruled that a search is generally not rendered unconstitutional because an officer misunderstood the law. But Eaton did not adopt SCOTUS's sweeping and dubious reasoning, which lets ignorant cops off the hook. Instead, he drew from this other dude's opinion that a search is only constitutional if an officer makes a reasonable mistake about genuinely ambiguous law. And because the Vermont statute was not ambiguous, he violated Article 11 by pulling over Zulo.
Yeah. So this is definitely a stab in the heart of racial profiling for this area. Oh, to me, that's glorious.
Good.
Yeah, I don't think that we have much of that here, at least in our area. But you still hear stories that somebody's driving a nice car and get pulled over because their skin tone isn't the same skin tone as the cop. Hopefully this law right here spreads like wildfire.
Yeah.
Hopefully everybody else adopts it too. Cops are very much needed, and there's a lot of great cops. I've got friends that are cops. Not all of them are dicks. There's probably a mass majority of them that are awesome. But you got sprinkled in there are the assholes. So we definitely need cops, and there's definitely a lot of great cops out there. So I'm not cop hating.
Absolutely.
But like with any profession, if your doctor didn't have a level of accountability, good God, what kind of horrible things could be done to a person?
Yeah.
We need that same oversight with police. Their internal system doesn't work well enough. If it worked well enough, we wouldn't see so many cops getting off basically with murder. So, I definitely see the need for the oversight on these things. All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us today for our little discussion.
Thanks for hanging out.
Join us next time, and we'll have some more fun and have some more discussion. Until then, if you guys have any ideas or any cool things you want us to talk about, please feel free to leave a link in the description.
In the comments.
What's that?
Not in the description, in the comments.
Oh, sorry. My head's 15 different places. Plus, I'm stoned. So, yeah. Leave us a note, and we'll talk about it on the next one. Just make sure you don't wait too long. Otherwise, we won't get it. So with that,
and you guys,
once again,
we have a quick announcement. We're at 19
yeah.
subscribers.
Yeehaw.
One more subscriber, and we get to do the drawing
There you go.
for our very first giveaway when we reach
Yep.
20 subs. So find a friend and have them sub, and then we can do the drawing.
All right, guys. Until next time, if you want some more up-to-date news on what Canacity is doing or just whatever we're running, this month we're running a holiday a day thing. So each day check back at 4:20, and we'll show you what the holiday of the day is. Our Twitter account is at Canacity Tweets. So come by and join us, and we'll keep you entertained as much as we can. Well, guys, thanks for joining us. Make sure to tune in again for another episode here coming out shortly. I've been Jimmy, and this is my lovely co-host,
Jenna,
and we'll see you next time. Be kind to each other. Peace.
thanks for watching. Bye.